I was flipping pancakes for my 5-year-old Emma and 3-year-old Noah when my phone rang. Marcus was sipping his coffee getting ready for work, and our kitchen felt so perfectly warm and peaceful. The caller ID showed an unknown number, but when I answered, my heart nearly stopped. That voice, deep, familiar, carrying 7 years of history, I had tried so hard to forget. "Maeve, this is Ryan." The spatula slipped from my hand. The man I was supposed to marry, the man who broke my heart into pieces, was calling me out of nowhere. Why now? After all this time, before I tell you what happened during that phone call, let me know where you are watching from, and do not forget to hit that like button to support me. Because this story will prove that sometimes justice comes late, but it always comes. And trust me, you will want to hear every single word of what my sister did to destroy my life, and how karma finally caught up with her. 7 years ago, I was 25 and living my dream life. I worked as a freelance graphic designer from my cozy apartment, creating logos and websites for small businesses. Ryan was my everything. 28 years old, a brilliant software engineer with these warm brown eyes that made me feel like I was the only person in the world. We had been dating for 3 years, engaged for 6 months, and our autumn wedding was just 4 months away. I thought I had it all figured out. My dress was hanging in my closet. We had booked this beautiful venue overlooking the lake, and Ryan would surprise me with little notes in my coffee mug every morning. He would write things like, "Can't wait to call you, Mrs. Anderson," or, "You're going to be the most beautiful bride." I saved every single one of those notes in a small wooden box, but there was always Jessica, my older sister by 2 years, with her perfect blonde hair and model-like features. Growing up, everything was a competition with her. If I got an A on a test, she had to get an A+. If I brought home a boyfriend, she would flirt with him until he was confused about which sister he actually liked. It happened 3 times in high school. 3 times she stole boys who said they loved me. Jessica had just gotten divorced from her first husband after 2 years of marriage. She moved back into our childhood home with our parents, claiming she needed time to figure things out. Mom and Dad welcomed her with open arms, setting up her old room like she was 17 again. I should have seen the warning signs then. The first red flag appeared when Jessica started showing up whenever Ryan came to visit. If we were watching a movie in the living room, she would casually walk through in yoga pants and a tank top asking if we needed anything. If Ryan and I were having dinner on the back porch, she would join us with her own plate, saying she did not want to eat alone. She even started dressing like me, copying my style down to the exact shade of lipstick I wore. Ryan began acting differently too. Our text conversations became shorter. He would cancel dates last minute because of work emergencies. When I asked if everything was okay, he would force a smile and say he was just stressed about a big project. But his eyes did not meet mine the way they used to. The warmth was fading, and I could not understand why. What I did not know was that Jessica had started her master plan. She had researched Ryan's company, learned about his current projects, and began accidentally running into him at the coffee shop near his office. She would order the same complicated drink he liked, complain about the same things he complained about, and slowly plant seeds of doubt about me. "I do not want to say anything bad about Maeve," she would tell him, stirring her latte with fake concern in her voice. "But she has been coming home really late lately. She says it is work, but I saw her texting someone named Luke pretty late at night. I am probably just being paranoid as her protective big sister, but something feels off." Luke was my client, a restaurant owner who needed a complete rebrand. We had several evening meetings because those were the only times he could meet after closing his restaurant. Ryan knew about these meetings, but Jessica made them sound suspicious. She was planting poison drop by drop, and I had no idea. The final blow came on a Tuesday morning in July. I woke up to find Ryan sitting at my kitchen table still in yesterday's clothes, looking like he had not slept all night. His face was pale, and there were dark circles under his eyes. In front of him was my engagement ring, sitting next to a manila envelope. "I cannot marry someone who betrays me," he said without looking up. His voice was flat and motionless, like he had practiced this speech. "I know about Luke. I know about everything." My world tilted off its axis. "What are you talking about? Luke is my client. I told you about the restaurant project." I reached for the envelope with shaking hands. Inside were photographs, pictures of me and Luke at Romano's restaurant, but they looked wrong. In the photos, we appeared to be holding hands across the table, leaning in close like lovers. But I remembered that night clearly. We were looking at menu designs on my laptop, and Luke was pointing at specific items. "These are fake," I whispered, staring at the images. "Ryan, these have been edited. Look at the shadows. Look at how blurry the edges are around our hands." But he was already standing up, already walking toward the door. "I trusted you completely, Maeve. I would have given you everything, but this..." He gestured at the photos. "Jessica tried to defend you. She said maybe there was an explanation, but the evidence is right there." That is when it hit me like a freight train. Jessica. Of course it was Jessica. She had been there that night, had seen me leave for my meeting with Luke. She must have followed us, taken photos, then manipulated them to create this lie. But when I tried to explain this to Ryan, he just shook his head. "Do not blame your sister for your choices. She has been nothing but supportive through this whole thing. She even cried when I showed her the photos because she felt so bad for me." He left that morning, and I felt like my entire future had been ripped away. Within hours, the news spread through our friend group. Ryan told his friends who told their girlfriends who told everyone else. Jessica had already started her own whisper campaign expressing concern about my behavior to anyone who would listen. "I love my sister, but I think she might have a problem," she would say with fake tears in her eyes. "She has always been impulsive with men. I just hope she gets the help she needs." Our mutual friends chose sides, and most of them chose Ryan. He was the wounded party, the faithful partner who had been betrayed. I was painted as the cheating fiancé who threw away a good man for some fling. Wedding vendors started calling, asking if they should cancel services. I had to return my dress forfeit deposits and explain to everyone that there would be no wedding. My parents sat me down for an intervention 3 days later. Dad cleared his throat awkwardly while Mom twisted her wedding ring, a nervous habit she'd had since I was little. "Honey, we love you no matter what," Mom began. "But Jessica is worried about you. She thinks you might be going through something difficult. Maybe we should look into counseling." Even my own parents believed Jessica over me. The golden child, the one who could do no wrong, had convinced them that I was having some kind of breakdown that led to infidelity. Only my grandmother, my mother's mom, pulled me aside later and whispered, "That girl has been trouble since the day she was born. I believe you, sweetheart." 2 weeks after Ryan broke our engagement, Jessica started phase 2 of her plan. She began showing up at his gym, claiming she needed a workout buddy to deal with the stress of our family situation. She would text him articles about forgiveness and healing, always ending with, "I just want you to be okay." She invited him for coffee to talk about Maeve and see how he was coping. During these meetings, she would comfort him, tell him how strong and amazing he was, how any woman would be lucky to have him. She built him up while subtly tearing down my reputation even further. Ryan was vulnerable, heartbroken, and Jessica swooped in like a vulture. She was patient, playing the long game. She never made the first move, just created situations where he would turn to her for emotional support. And slowly, steadily, she made herself indispensable to his healing process. 1 month after our breakup, Jessica called me with news that felt like a knife to my chest. "I did not plan for this to happen," she said, but I could hear the satisfaction in her voice. "Ryan and I have developed feelings for each other. We are going to try dating. I know this is hard for you, but love does not follow a timeline. He makes me happy and I make him happy. After everything he has been through, he deserves happiness." I sat on my bathroom floor and cried until no more tears would come. The betrayal was complete. Not only had she destroyed my relationship, but she had stolen the man I loved for herself. And somehow she had convinced everyone, including Ryan, that this was a beautiful love story born from tragedy rather than a calculated theft. I could not stay in that town anymore. Every corner held memories. Every mutual friend was a reminder of what Jessica had stolen from me. My grandmother slipped me $5,000 from her savings account and held my hands in her weathered ones. "Baby girl, you go start fresh somewhere. Show them all what you are really made of. That sister of yours will get what's coming to her eventually. Bad seeds always grow into bad trees." I packed everything I could fit in my Honda Civic and drove 12 hours straight to Portland, Oregon. I had visited once for a design conference and fallen in love with the creative energy of the city. It felt like the perfect place to disappear and rebuild. I rented a tiny studio apartment in the Alberta Arts District for $800 a month. It had exposed brick walls, hardwood floors that creaked when I walked, and a view of nothing but the apartment building next door. But it was mine. Nobody there knew about Jessica or Ryan or the supposed cheating scandal. I could be anyone I wanted to be. The first few months were brutal. I lived off ramen noodles and peanut butter sandwiches while I rebuilt my client base. I spent 18-hour days creating portfolios, reaching out to local businesses, and slowly establishing myself in the Portland design community. Some nights, I would cry myself to sleep, wondering if Jessica was lying next to Ryan in the bed where we used to plan our future. But gradually, the pain started to fade. I was too busy building my new life to dwell on the old one. I found a yoga studio 6 blocks from my apartment and decided to try something new. I had always been too self-conscious to take classes back home, afraid Jessica would make fun of my flexibility or compare my body to hers. That's where I met Marcus. He was the instructor for the beginners class, 30 years old with kind green eyes and this patient way of explaining poses that made everyone feel welcome. He had dark hair that curled at the edges when he got sweaty, and this genuine smile that reached all the way to his eyes. After my 3rd class, he approached me with a bottle of water. "You are doing great for someone new to yoga," he said. "I can tell you are really committed to learning. That is rare." We started talking after classes. I learned that he had moved to Portland from Boston 5 years earlier after leaving a corporate job that was slowly killing his soul. He opened his yoga studio with his savings and a small business loan, creating a space where people could find peace and strength. He did not ask intrusive questions about my past or why a graphic designer from the Midwest had suddenly appeared in Portland with no local connections. Our friendship developed slowly and naturally. Marcus would invite me to join him and other students for smoothies after Saturday morning classes. We discovered we both loved hiking obscure documentaries and Thai food spicy enough to make our eyes water. He was the first person in months who made me laugh until my stomach hurt. 6 months after I moved to Portland, Marcus asked me out on a real date. We went to this tiny restaurant that served farm-to-table meals at communal tables. We talked for 4 hours about everything and nothing. Art, travel, dreams, our biggest fears, the weirdest foods we had ever tried. When he walked me home, he kissed me goodnight on my doorstep, and it felt like coming home. I did not tell him about Jessica or Ryan for another year. When I finally opened up about my past, Marcus listened without judgment. He did not need the full story or all the painful details. He just held me while I cried and said, "I am so sorry you went through that. You deserved so much better." We moved in together after 18 months of dating. Marcus sold his studio apartment, and we found a 2-bedroom house in the Selwood neighborhood with a garden where we could grow tomatoes and herbs. He proposed on a hiking trip to Multnomah Falls, getting down on one knee right where the mist from the waterfall created tiny rainbows in the sunlight. Our wedding was small and perfect. 30 people at a vineyard outside the city, including my grandmother, who traveled across the country to be there. She wore a lavender dress and cried happy tears during our vows. My parents did not come. They were standing by Jessica during her difficult time, which meant they were still choosing her over me even after all these years. Emma was born 2 years later, a perfect little bundle with Marcus's green eyes and my stubborn streak. When Noah arrived 18 months after that, our family felt complete. I had built something beautiful from the ashes of what Jessica had destroyed. My design business grew into a small agency with 4 employees and clients across the Pacific Northwest. Marcus opened a second yoga studio in the Pearl District. We had date nights every Friday, family camping trips every summer, and Sunday morning pancake traditions that made our house smell like maple syrup and contentment. Sometimes my grandmother would call with updates from home. Jessica and Ryan had gotten married in a courthouse ceremony 2 years after they started dating. No big wedding, no celebration, just a quick legal formality. Jessica could not get pregnant despite trying for years, and the stress was taking a toll on their marriage. Ryan's career had stagnated after he made some poor decisions trying to impress Jessica with a more expensive lifestyle. "She is getting what she deserves," my grandmother would say. "Playing with people's hearts always comes back to bite you eventually." But I had stopped caring about revenge. My life in Portland was so full and rich that Jessica's drama felt like something from another lifetime. I was genuinely happy in a way I had never been before, even during the good times with Ryan. That brings us back to Tuesday morning with Ryan's voice on the phone while I stood in my kitchen, surrounded by everything I had built without him. "Maeve, please do not hang up," he said, and I could hear desperation in his voice. "I need to tell you something about Jessica, about what really happened 7 years ago." I leaned against my counter, watching Marcus help Noah pour syrup on his pancakes while Emma drew pictures on her napkin. My real life, my actual family continued around me, while this ghost from my past tried to pull me backward. "Last week, Jessica got really drunk at her friend's birthday party," Ryan continued. "She called me crying, saying she had something she needed to confess. She told me everything, Maeve, everything. She lied about the cheating. She faked those photos. She manipulated both of us because she wanted me for herself." My coffee mug stopped halfway to my lips. After 7 years, the truth was finally coming out. But instead of feeling vindicated or angry, I felt strangely calm, almost relieved that the secret was finally exposed. "She said she had been jealous of you her whole life, that you always got the good guys, the real love, while she just attracted men who wanted her for her looks. She said she convinced herself that she deserved to be happy even if it meant destroying your happiness." Ryan's voice cracked. "I am so sorry, Maeve. I should have believed you. I should have seen through her lies. Those photos looked real, and she was so convincing, but I should have trusted you instead of evidence that could have been faked." I looked at Marcus, who had noticed I was on an important call and was keeping the kids occupied. He caught my eye and raised his eyebrows questioningly. I smiled at him and mouthed, "I'm okay," because I was. I was more than okay. "Jessica filed for divorce 3 days ago," Ryan continued. "She said she cannot live with the guilt anymore. She admitted that she has never actually loved me. She just wanted to win against you. She said our whole marriage has been built on a lie, and she cannot pretend anymore. There was a long pause. I could hear traffic in the background like he was calling from his car. Maeve, I know I have no right to ask this after what I did to you, but I am begging you to give me another chance. You are the love of my life. You always have been. I made the biggest mistake of my life when I let Jessica's lies destroy what we had. Please tell me it is not too late. Please tell me we can try again. I watched Emma show Noah how to draw a butterfly, their heads bent together over her colored pencils. Marcus was cleaning up breakfast dishes, humming softly to himself. This was my life now. This was my home. Ryan, I said gently, I forgive you for not believing me. I understand why you made the choice you did. Jessica can be very convincing when she wants something. So, you will think about it, about us trying again. No, I said simply. I will not think about it because I am already exactly where I belong. What Jessica did was terrible, but in a strange way I am grateful to her. If she had not destroyed our relationship, I never would have moved to Portland. I never would have met Marcus or had my children or built the life I have now. Ryan was quiet for a long moment. You are married? Very happily married, with 2 beautiful kids and a business I love and a husband who has never doubted me for a single day. Jessica thought she was stealing my future, but she actually gave me a much better one. I lost you forever. You lost someone who was never really right for you anyway, and I found someone who is perfect for me. We both ended up where we needed to be, Ryan. I hope you find that too. After I hung up, Marcus came over and wrapped his arms around me from behind. Ex-fiancé? He asked. Former life, I corrected. He wanted to apologize for believing lies about me and try to get back together. And how do you feel about that? I turned in his arms and looked at this man who had loved me unconditionally for 7 years, who had never asked me to prove my faithfulness or questioned my integrity, who built our family on trust and genuine affection rather than drama and manipulation. I feel grateful, I said. Grateful that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads directly to the best thing that ever happens to you. He kissed my forehead. I love you, Mrs. Thompson. I love you too. Emma ran over and tugged on my pajama pants. Mama, who was on the phone. Just someone from a long time ago, baby. Nobody important. And that was the absolute truth. Ryan and Jessica belonged to a different version of my life, one where I was smaller and sadder and did not know my own worth. The person who had been devastated by their betrayal felt like someone I used to know rather than someone I used to be. My grandmother called that afternoon to tell me that Jessica had moved back in with our parents and was starting therapy to deal with what she called her toxic behavioral patterns. Ryan had been calling and texting everyone we used to know, asking if they had my contact information. Our old friend group was buzzing with the news that Jessica had confessed to lying about everything. People are saying they always suspected something was off about her story, my grandmother said. Funny how everybody becomes a detective after the truth comes out. I laughed. It does not matter what they think now. I learned a long time ago that the people who matter will believe in you even when the evidence looks bad. And the people who do not believe in you never mattered in the first place. That evening, Marcus and I sat on our back porch while the kids played in the sprinkler. The sun was setting behind the oak tree we had planted when Emma was born, and I felt this deep sense of peace settle over me. Do you ever wonder what your life would have been like if Jessica had not interfered? Marcus asked. I considered the question seriously. I probably would have married Ryan and been reasonably happy. We would have had a nice house and decent jobs and maybe a couple of kids. But I do not think I ever would have discovered how strong I could be or how much love I was capable of receiving. So, no regrets. None. Jessica taught me that I could survive having my entire world destroyed and build something even better from scratch. She taught me to trust my instincts about people and not ignore red flags just because someone is family. Most importantly, she taught me the difference between someone who loves the idea of you and someone who loves the reality of you. I reached over and took his hand. You love the reality of me. The messy, complicated, sometimes difficult reality. That is worth more than any fantasy relationship based on perfect appearances. As I sit here now watching my children grow up secure in our love, I realize that Jessica gave me the greatest gift possible without meaning to. She forced me to discover who I really was when everything familiar was stripped away. She pushed me toward the life I was actually meant to live. Sometimes the people who hurt us the most end up being our greatest teachers. Not because we should thank them for the pain they caused, but because we can choose to let that pain transform us into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable of real love. The girl who cried on her bathroom floor 7 years ago thought her life was over. She had no idea it was just beginning. What would you do if someone in your family betrayed you like this? Have you ever had to rebuild your life completely after a devastating loss? Let me know in the comments below, because I love hearing your stories, and if this story resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more real-life stories about overcoming betrayal and finding unexpected happiness. Share this with someone who needs to hear that sometimes our greatest heartbreaks lead to our most beautiful comebacks. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it reminds you that you are stronger than you know and deserving of authentic love. Until next time, keep believing in your own resilience and the possibility of new beginnings.